Welcome, everyone. I'm Oliver. I'm co-founder of HeyAmos, and I'm here with Vignesh Ramalingam, who's director of marketing at Fielddrive, an event technology company. And a few months back, they started working on showing up in AI search using the HeyAmos platform. And within 3 weeks, their new content was getting cited by AI, and then also leads started telling their sales team they'd found Fielddrive via AI. So today we're going to unpack what they did, what worked. And so, Vignesh, it's really good to have you here. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Oliver.
So just a little bit, the people who don't know what Fielddrive is, tell us a little bit about the company, what it does.
Got it. We are a event tech company. We are a global event tech company. We help marketing teams run events, check-in, badging, analytics, and other event solutions. We have been in this space for about 10 plus years right now. Fielddrive is the one who introduced facial recognition check-in in the event industry space. And right now, we have 7 different solutions. Everything is for events, right from AI-powered Fielddrive insights to our document scanning check-in and other validation processes. We work with global Fortune 500 companies and also companies who run event size of more than 500 till up to 50,000. We have done a lot of major global tournaments, sports tournaments, and large conferences, and a lot of other companies as well.
So yeah, so one customer is typically worth quite a lot for you then.
Yeah, there are a mix of customers. There are one customer who does about 10 plus events in a particular year, and there are a few customers who do 3 events, which is kind of large in different regions. One can happen in London, the other one can happen in New York, and the other one can happen in part of Asia, right? There are different scenarios. We operate across the globe. We have a strong logistics network as well. So it kind of depends. Wherever they wanted to execute their event, we will help them with
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. As a marketer, I've done events myself, and it's always much more work than you think, especially all the practicalities.
Of course.
It's hard work. And what is your role at Fielddrive?
Yeah. I had the global marketing at Fielddrive. So we are a very small team. We are about 10 plus members across the globe. My responsibility is go to market strategies, and I also work very closely with our business development and sales teams.
Right. And maybe what made you decide to start investing in AI search? Kind of what was the starting point? How did you go about it? Like, how does it play into the whole marketing mix?
Got it. So I was always curious and fascinated about technology, current trends, and everything. When ChatGPT was introduced back in 2022, I was fascinated by how the search kind of moved from Google to ChatGPT, right? I think we can make arguments right now where the search is happening, how Google got back the search and everything. But I think at that point of time, there was a lot of discussion that the entire search is moving into these AI platforms. And then later Claude came in, and Anthropic, I think, changed a lot of search behavior as well. So I was fascinated by all this. And then I was obviously reading through, and then there was a couple of tools that got introduced to me on LinkedIn and socials. I was just trying to explore all the various tools. And then, if you remember, there was a time when the entire Google search traffic went down for a period of 2 or 3 months. At that point of time, we realized maybe it's time to explore the AI search part, the AEO part. And we used a tool which was expensive, and it was a self-serve. And obviously, like any other team, we didn't know how to put the tool into proper use. There was no proper help, guidance. We had to explore. We knew that the AI search is taking shape, and it is very crucial for all the companies to jump in, but we didn't know how to put tool into proper use. All right. And then we were exploring. I think we made a couple of mistakes, and we also learned something from that process. And then I came across, I think it should be Nitya's LinkedIn profile. And then obviously we got into touch. Yeah, you started helping us, and we saw the results in the first 3 or 4 weeks, maybe. Initially, we got cited. Obviously, we looked at all the information and then built pages built on topics. It was you folks had helped us, right? Which got us execute faster, and it gave us kind of an idea, because as a small team, we were doing a lot of other things. We were still doing SEO, we were still doing content. We were still doing webinars and a lot of other stuff. But this one, we didn't have a clear input on how we should be doing. And HeyAmos, thanks to you folks, you gave us a clear instruction. It was almost like an extended team to have you and Nitya. And yeah, that's how the journey started.
Could we circle back a little? You mentioned you made some mistakes initially, right? And that,
Yeah.
that could be helpful to others as well who like, if you want to elaborate a little bit on what are the mistakes and kind of what you learned from them.
Yeah, obviously, see, the first place for all of us, if you wanted to explore a new channel or a new strategy, is to watch some of YouTube videos, go through LinkedIn posts and everything. And the mistake that I think as a team that we made on the AI search was picking the same topics from our SEO part with the same keywords and then just changing them into questions and building some of the topics, right? The idea, the intention was, for example, people are searching for event technology platforms to explore some of our solutions. Maybe we just change them into question engines, right? It's like, what do you suggest for event tech platforms, or what are the options for event check-in platforms? I think we change them into questions directly and start building some of the topics. Later, I realized it is not just about changing those questions, but there are a lot of other stuff, right? I think for about like a couple of months initially when we were exploring, I think we did that mistake. That was a lesson that we learned. And the second one was, we also had a pilot with a particular tool where it was kind of like self-serve. There was a lot of, I would say, there are a lot of noise about that particular tool on socials and LinkedIn, a lot of promotions. It was a bit expensive as well. But the actual, again, how do we use it? Why do we need to use it? Where do you find all the information? It was kind of like overwhelming, right? The information that we got from that particular tool was, I felt it was not something that we could actually use to create a strategy.
Yeah, because kind of what you told me as
Yes,
well when we started talking is like, you need to boil it down. Okay, what are the next 5 things we do this
exactly.
month? If we do 10 content pieces, how should we focus them and how do they play into our overall strategy, right?
Yes, that's right. Absolutely.
And so how you mentioned you've done like classic SEO as well, right? So how have you changed or adapted your content strategy to play into the AI search thing as well? And what's different?
Yeah. So I think for the AEO, obviously, you need more technical specifications on some of the content. For an example, your JSON LD, your FAQs, it should be more specific. And how do you pick the topics itself, right? What you are getting cited for. And with the HeyAmos, it actually gave us a suggestion on what type of topics that we should produce, what type of pages that we should produce. That was pretty helpful. When we put out our information, or whenever we keyed in our information strategy idea into the tool, it kept on giving us the suggestions. I think we followed that for about like 3-4 weeks initially. We started getting cited, and then later the comparison pages and all the technical specifications. I think with HeyAmos on the technical side, once working with you folks, just identifying or understanding the basic structures that what all we should be following, and then you follow that structure and then pick up all the suggestions from the tool itself. It's kind of helped us.
Yeah, and yeah, so one difference also that I think you've observed and we see as well across is that, there's been this classic playbook of doing a lot of upper funnel SEO content.
Yeah.
And actually, AI tends to ignore a lot of that content. So you have to kind of, like you said, it's a lot about substance and bringing out all the kind of facts and figures and really focusing on that. And you're also using the HeyAmos content agent to draft content, right? And still human in the loop. But so some people are a bit, skeptical of doing that, and some, So what is your take on that whole? It's quite a hot topic, right? So like,
yeah, I think with the agent, it is definitely helpful, but we are also having a human review this piece. And also we are adding a lot of we can probably call it as customizing every piece, because we feel we want our content to be in a certain way, which has some of our event images, which has some of our product images and some other assets. So we kind of use that and do a bit of a review. We don't change a lot of content. I don't think it's necessary. The tool itself sticks to the topic, and it kind of gives us content, but there's a human in loop who adds a lot of other sections, kind of does a bit of proofreading before we go live.
It makes sense. I think that's how most people use it,
Yeah.
and probably will continue to use it as well.
Yeah.
So, like on the same topic, how do you use HeyAmos in a week? Kind of, what is the workflow? What are the steps you go through?
All right. So this is how our week goes by. Monday morning, when we start our week, we kind of look at all the channels, all the metrics. We compare it from last week. For an example, you look at the website traffic, the performance, the number of leads, the number of MQLs and everything, and then obviously get into HeyAmos, look at the citation score. It gives us week on week performance, whether we are where we are growing or whether we are not growing in terms of the citation percentage, right? And where we appear and what searches we appear. And then we also look at the MQLs from last week, whether there was any particular form fills or MQLs from AI search on a Slack channel. We have built a Slack channel on for our inbound leads and all the other form fills as well. So what we do is we look at it, we look at a pattern, right? So we try to correlate, okay, this particular topic is giving us traffic, it is getting cited, and we are getting MQLs. And then I also looked at those folks on LinkedIn and I make sure that this is the right ICP. If it is the right ICP, we double down on that. If it is not, then we change the strategy for it. But till now, I think with whatever content that we produced, we were 100% right on getting the right ICPs into our MQM buckets. So that way, till now, I think it's been working well. But there are a lot of other things to be done, a lot of other improvements to be done as well. So I have put the entire team behind on this to explore further.
So you mentioned tracking the patterns, right? And that's I think a shift for a lot of people who are used to always being able to track everything with traffic and cookies and pixels. And that's changing, right? Not just because of AI, but like in general, it's more about finding the correlations and the patterns rather than tracking all the clicks. Because as we know, also a lot of people don't click out from AI, right? They hear about you and then they go and land on your website, and if you measure the traffic, it shows up as direct traffic.
Exactly. I think this is another part of the mistake that we did earlier, right? We were thinking there were no clicks happening, there were no traffic coming in from the first sources. Maybe we are doing something wrong, but technically later what I realized was you are behind the wrong metrics, right? You'll have to probably look at the percentage, how you're cited week on week, and on what topics you're getting cited. That is very crucial, right? And then explore what are the similar topics, what are the other topics that are chances for you to get cited, right? AEO is for citation for you to appear, right? And then the entire TA form fill should happen in our website, right? People, what I've heard from people is that, we are not getting leads from AEO. But the problem that we need to understand is when people look for options in all these tools, we again, the first metric that we should look is whether we are getting cited for that particular search, whether folks are landing in our website. That's it, right? These two are the metrics that we should look for. And what happens in our website is something that you keep improving or you keep changing or you make constant developments according to your performance.
So basically the best way to figure out if people found you via AI is to ask them, really, right?
Ask them, yes. The other point is also that we usually have this process of our sales team asking the prospect, how did you find us? And we've got a lot of answers saying that they found us in some of these searches. And there's also, if you create a inbound or whatever Slack channel for all your form fills and everything, we also get the lead source as AI search or AI reference, right? So brilliant. That is also, that we have done. I think internally when the traffic comes from ChatGPT or other sources, we term that as AI reference.
So you're basically triangulating with the different sources, and then you get to the pattern and you see that, hey, some things are improving here.
Of course, yes. I think we are a pretty ROI-driven company. We look at every spend and say how much are we doing in this specific channel. So AEO was a specific plan for us. We treated it as a new channel. So the only way I could show ROI is when we're getting MQLs, right? Or leads out of it. Until then, all the search numbers and everything, that's for our internal evaluation, but I don't think I can take it to the leadership edition, right? So the best way it is to put a number to this, and what I've done is I've taken a target of certain MQLs every quarter and we compare it with our actual performance. So then what happens is it's easier to justify the cost with finance and also to get more budgets in the future.
No, I think it's a very pragmatic approach, and getting to the patterns really.
Right.
It keeps and that's again just to improve your visibility on AI as well. It's again, you try things, you track the patterns, you understand what works, and then you double down on this. I think that's what we also designed the platform to. The whole point was to make it really easy to do that part.
Yes, I think the ease of using the HeyAmos platform is pretty good. I really liked the user interface and experience, but how easy it is to track all the citations, all the topics, and the possibilities of all the other topics where you should focus. I think that is pretty useful. I think if possible, when you're bringing this discussion up, if you can probably bring that image, that will be useful for folks also to understand.
Brilliant. Yeah, we'll do that. So it's been a bit of a journey for you, right? So what has kind of surprised you here the most along the way? Or what are some new things that you didn't know before?
Yeah, the new things that I didn't know was for an SEO channel, it takes a lot of time for us to see the results, right? At least 6 months. You'll have to do a lot of top of the funnel. You'll have to stuff a lot of pages, stuff a lot of keywords and everything. But with AEO, initially I thought it's going to take at least 3 to 4 months of time. But what we saw the results in the first 2 or 3 weeks itself, right? The speed to execute and the kind of information that the tool gives out, right? Just make this, assume how if Google throws you all the information, what you want to create, how do you want to create? If Google gives out all the information that, okay, you are being cited for XXX topic, now go ahead and create Y and also create some of these topics on comparisons with X versus Y and Y versus X, right? That kind of an information that was pretty useful for us. And I think when we started using the tool, we also gave out keyed in a lot of our information, where we wanted to appear, our content style and everything. I think I didn't know that was possible.
So you're directing the strategy as well. Exactly. So it's more tailored to you.
Yes, that was not something that, I knew that this was possible, but to the level deeper that we went in, I think I was not aware of that part.
Yeah, because if you can't plug into to a workflow or to a strategy, then you're not a very useful tool in the end, I think.
I used only a couple of tools. I'm not aware of all the ones, but do you think that all the tools have this feature?
Well, I'm biased, right? But I think that we have designed it from day one to solve the problem, not just to identify the problem. And I think a lot of tools are in this identify the problem or diagnose the problem kind of bucket, because it's a lot harder to actually, and it's easy to give 100 possible things to do, right? Yeah. The hard part is saying these 5 things are going to have a high impact and you should do those next. Right. And that's what we've been building for from the start. And I think that's, as yourself and other customers, that's what they appreciate the most typically, because that's how you also get these fast results as well.
Absolutely. Got it.
I think, just to wrap it up, right? Someone who's a couple of months behind you, thinking about investing in AI search, starting from zero, kind of, what advice would you send to them?
I think talking to folks like you, exploring, I think that will open up a lot of conversation than just keying in your credit card and using a self-service tool. We were not expecting this kind of a support from you folks, right? How do you worked very closely with us to strategize, gave us inputs, helped us throughout to set up, and even with our weekly reviews, the kind of information that you give, that was pretty useful, right? I'm not very sure if anyone else kind of gets this kind of a support when they start with this journey, but maybe when they have some questions or when they have doubts, they might answer you. But I've never seen the onboarding experience. But I think that is the differentiation for you folks, because that what creates a differentiation between you and the other folks, because I definitely think it puts a lot of information to the team that kind of executes, and there are a lot of context inside the tool, which even if we have explored it, we wouldn't have realized it. That's again, I think, the USP.
Yeah,
here.
brilliant. Yeah, Vignesh, it's been great chatting with you, and thank you for sharing your learnings also so generously about AI search. I think we're all exploring this together
Yeah.
as a whole marketing community.
Yes.
And any marketer listening to this doing events, if you're not already using Fielddrive, highly recommend them as well. Thank you everyone for listening, and hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Oliver. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Have a good
Bye.
day. Thanks. Bye.